Good morning, everybody. Welcome to my future office and man cave. Now, by man cave, I don't mean pinball machines and beer signs and talking rubber fish. That's not my style. I'm thinking more along the lines of, imagine where Teddy Roosevelt would have sat down to write his memoirs and his stories about hunting through Africa and that kind of thing. I am making a Teddy Roosevelt type room. Like cigar bar, bourbon room type of place. It's going to be leather and walnut. That's the whole point of this thing. Now, if you look around, it kind of looks semi-finished already, and that was by design. I didn't want to start this project off by trying to tell you guys how to do electrical and studs and drywall. I'm not an expert. That's not interesting. I wanted to start from sort of a square one spot where we could build into the room all of the cool walnut stuff and the different built-in furniture and the fixtures that we're going to do. So let's get into the video about how we got to where I am now and what we're going to do going forward. So let's start with what was this space originally. It was a dark, terrible, unfinished basement with a single light bulb and shelves all around here for just storing junk. I ended up putting a wall in so that that side can be firewood storage for a wood burning furnace. And then I ripped all the shelves out and started building this into what I want. Now, this basement had a little bit of trouble with flooding. When we moved in, we had water coming up through our floor drains, but that was actually the fault of our septic system, which has now been remedied. There was also a beaver trap around the perimeter of the whole thing. And if you don't know what that is, it's kind of imagine a small curb just a few inches away from the exterior foundation wall. That's to guide water. If it comes in through that outside wall, it hits that curb and then follows that until you hit a floor drain and it goes where you want it to. So there's evidence of exterior water coming in here. We haven't actually had that problem since we've lived in the place, but I also did notice that all of the landscaping was sloped towards the house and there's not a single gutter anywhere on the house. So I've remedied all of that. And I am 99.9% sure that this basement will not get wet again. But let's talk floor. Because there's that 0.1% chance, I've got to do something on the floor that's going to be durable and potentially waterproof. Now you noticed that echo. I decided it's got to be carpet because I got to get this echo down in here. Otherwise it's kind of weird and obnoxious sounds. Now I'm not going to go with thick foam backed, full sheet carpet because of the tiny percent chance of a water issue. Instead, I bought a whole bunch of these self-adhesive thin carpet squares. They're relatively cheap, they're very durable, and if one of them does get wrecked, I can peel one square up and put a new one down. But in the event of water, it's so thin, I'm sure I can just shop vac it dry and put a fan on it and we're good to go. So this will be a little bit later video, putting down my flooring. And then in that one, we'll also do the baseboard trim, which is gonna be walnut. So talking walnut for a second. After putting all the studs in and doing all the electrical, which we'll talk about in a minute, I had a return vent up here and a main support beam for the house running here, and then a support post to help support the support beam. That's the word support an awful lot of times, but I wanted to hide all of that. It was too ugly. Clearly this was the right choice. So I dropped, there's a little bit of negative space in here because that return vent doesn't fill that whole space. I blocked that around with 2x4s and plywood, same thing here, and paneled it all in thin, kind of undesirable walnut. This isn't stuff that you would really even look at if you went to a lumber yard to buy it, but it's stuff that I can cut a lot of because of the tree farm. And I think it has way more character. There's knots, there's holes, there's sapwood, there's crazy grain. I really think it looks great in here. And then I also have these two beams, which are completely fake. I wanted another place to put lights that wasn't just throwing more lights in the drywall in the ceiling. So I thought two fake beams connecting the two of these kind of like necessary beams really made the space look really a lot classier, a lot more Teddy Roosevelt. So all of the other stuff I'm going to build in is going to be walnut as well. You can see all the outlets are in. The electrical is in a weird spot over on this wall. That is by design. This is going to be my main workstation. I'm going to have Big storage right up to about here. Then it's going to turn into workbench space with below storage and a hanging cabinet and a television. So this is hidden by TV. This is hidden by workbench. These two are going to be about workbench high. So that whole wall is going to be walnut. There is a closet over there, and the space for that is not a real size. You can't just go buy a door to fit that. So I'm going to build a walnut door. Not to mention, all the outlets are going to get covered with walnut outlets. So I've kind of been prototyping what I want this to end up being, and that'll be a video in itself, just getting these right and covering all of those so that we have that much more walnut just dripping out of this room. So from electrical, let's talk about lights. I really, really like the lights that are in this room. There's a link in the description. You can go get them on Amazon. They're actually smart lights. They have microphones built in, so if you have an Alexa, you can just talk at them and make them do different things. I don't have that. I don't want to do that. I do have them synced up to my app on my phone, so I can program to do different dimness, different colors. I can turn certain ones off and on at different times. Now, before I picked these, I set up my light switches thinking I was going to have dumb lights, so you just walk over and you flip them off and on, and that's what you get. These ones obviously are out. That was intentional to be workspace lighting versus room lighting. Now, there's a lot more I can go in here and program, but just to demonstrate this, let's say this is, I flip the switches on at the door, walk in, do whatever I need to do. Okay, now maybe I want to watch a movie and I don't want the room to be completely black. I programmed in one I called TV mode. Boop. That turned all of the lights down to about 10% and turned the center one off. So, and I can push full bright, boop, and we come back. I'm gonna have a nice chair sit in the corner, and if I wanna be in a quiet, dark space and watch a movie, I can hit TV mode, dim all the lights down, and fire up my movie. That's lighting. We did floors, we did outlets. This wall over here is where I'm going to keep my computer, my workstation. And right now, that's upstairs on a terrible folding plastic table. And it's been that way for 3 years. So I'm going to build a really, really nice walnut workstation desk for myself that's going to go up against that wall. This back wall is just going to be display. It's going to be, I've got a couple of mounts that I'm proud of. I've got a couple of hides that I'm proud of. Some artwork, that kind of thing. That's all that's going to go over there. Right where I'm standing is going to be, I have just in that other room, a really, really nice Milwaukee rolling tool chest. The problem with it is it's bright red and that doesn't fit in here. So I'm going to make a project out of paneling it in walnut so it looks like it belongs here. So we're going to have a walnut Milwaukee tool chest. And there's power in this post so that I can plug my rolling tool chest in and have power in that thing too. So the last thing, and one of the more interesting projects, is going to be a secret door. I'm going to have a bookshelf that you have to move a thing around and unlock it in a certain way, and then the door will pop open and then you can get in here. So from the outside, it's not going to look like this room even exists. You won't know it unless you know it. What is interesting is that room out there is horrible. It is painted OSB for the walls. It is ugly, it is dim. So in my mind, I want to make an ugly, terrible bookshelf that fits what's going on out there. Now, my wife thinks that I should make a nice bookshelf in case we ever redo that room. We'll deal with that when we get there. I would kind of like it to be ugly on the outside and then nice, beautiful walnut on this side so that if you're inside the room, it looks gorgeous, and if you're outside the room, it looks terrible. I think that covers about what this project is going to do. So we have, this is video one, the intro, where we're going from here. We're going to have floors and baseboard molding. We're going to have outlet and receptacle covers, crown molding, little trim molding that has to get done. We're going to have a whole project probably on just making a closet door, an entire project or two on cabinetry and desks. The computer desk will be a project. This is going to be a 5, 6, 7, 8, something like that part series on my office and man cave. All right, so at this point, I want to hear from you guys. What do you think of the project so far, and what do you think of my plan going forward? And what would you guys incorporate into a room like this if you were building one for yourselves? What haven't I thought of? What do I need to add? Limited space, it's roughly 12 by 16. But what else should I do? I'm not sure how long it's going to take me to finish this project, so I have a lot of time to incorporate more clever ideas. Also, make sure you go down to the description, check out the link to the lights. I also have a bunch of different links to a bunch of other different companies that I'm working with now, and you can get good discounts to really good tools. So check out the description, go leave me a comment, and that is all I can think to say at this point. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks for coming along in the future for the rest of this project. We'll talk to you on the next one.